First, though, we begin with an update of what President Trump and others call an invasion of our southern border. Now, tonight, the Border Patrol is reporting a 32% spike in illegal apprehensions at the southern border. Now, more than 140,000 illegal immigrants taken into custody in just the last month alone is what's being reported. The alarming spike coming as the president vows to impose new tariffs on the country of Mexico to curb this immigration crisis. Now, acting ICE Director Mark Morgan is standing by with a message to Democrats. But first, we begin with Chief National Correspondent Ed Henry to break it all down. Ed.
Laura, good to see you. This stands in stark contrast to the Democratic claims of late that this was a manufactured crisis when President Trump declared a national emergency, which may explain why in recent days we've seen a growing number of former Obama administration officials come out and suggest to their fellow Democrats they need to come up with a solution. Those May numbers you mentioned, biggest monthly total of apprehensions in 13 years, and it's the third consecutive month that border detentions topped 100,000 in a month. And look how jarring that is, because over the last 7 years, we've seen apprehensions of about 300 to 400,000 for the entire fiscal year. Now it's over 100,000 a month. You can get an idea of why that's alarming. The president's team at the Customs and Border Patrol held a conference call today declaring that their holding cells right now are literally bursting at the seams as a former Border Patrol chief for President Obama seemed to try and send a wake-up call to Democrats.
We are in a full-blown emergency, and I cannot say this stronger, the system is broken. This ongoing crisis has placed a tremendous strain on our limited resources and operational effectiveness. To address these unprecedented numbers of family units and unaccompanied children, up to 60% of our agents are being pulled away from law enforcement operations.
Well, it's certainly the numbers reflect a crisis, not only a humanitarian crisis, but a logistical crisis also. And to not admit that is a mistake because it has to be dealt with.
Yeah, Democratic Congressman Ben Ray Lujan was on Fox recently declaring it is not a national security crisis, as the president has said. The Democrat added it is a humanitarian crisis, but he said it was caused by the president's policies, which is not exactly supported by the facts. Certainly the White House pushing back on that, Laura.
Unbelievable. Ed, thank you so much tonight. And joining me now exclusively is acting ICE Director Mark Morgan. All right, Mark, now CBP is saying we are in a full-blown emergency. Now, it seems like we've been hearing this for a long time. 6 weeks ago, when we were down in the Del Rio sector of the southern border in Texas, that sector, which usually is pretty small in terms of border crossings, was bursting at the seams. But now it's exponentially worse. So what more needs to happen for Congress to get this and do something to secure the border?
So, Laura, that's the question. We've been sounding the alarm for a very long time that this is absolutely a humanitarian and national security crisis, and Congress has failed to do their job. Laura, it's unbelievable to me that we're still asking across the board, what can Congress do when we've been telling Congress, the experts that are living this every single day, from ICE to the Border Patrol to CBP, they need to pass meaningful legislation. They need to address the Florida Settlement Agreement and TVPRA. They do that, fund some bed space, and this crisis ends tomorrow. They know what they need to do. We've been telling them, and they refuse to do what they need to do.
Now, Mark, we're learning even more about what yours and other agencies are doing for these migrants. Now, HHS had been offering English language courses, legal services, bilingual services, various forms of entertainment for those who were apprehended, especially the young people. Now, CBP is now trying to purchase 2.2 million diapers for these migrant kids. Now, and I saw it being down at the border. You know, these are desperately needed because agents themselves are acting as caretakers. They're not caretakers, but they're having to act as caretakers. So what do you say tonight to Democrats like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who wants to abolish ICE because she thinks, well, ICE are the bad guys? ICE needs to go because that is not humanitarian efforts.
So politicians like that, Laura, that are absolutely misinformed, and that the rhetoric, if you talk about abolishing ICE, it's absolutely irresponsible. Let's talk about the Homeland Security side, investigation side of ICE. Last year alone, 34,000 criminal arrests, 5,000 gang members arrested, thousands of cases of child smuggling, exploitation, human trafficking. They seized $1.2 billion in U.S. currency from illicit activity. Yeah, I'd like to talk to that young congresswoman and have her tell me what's going to happen if ICE is abolished on that. Enforcement and removal operations. This year to date, 66,000 individuals have been removed from this country. Laura, 90% of those individuals removed either were convicted of additional crime or are charges pending. So what I would say to politicians like that, you need to get informed and stop the rhetoric out there, because it's not doing anybody any good.
Yeah. Well, Mark, it's purposeful denial. It's obvious to anyone with these staggering numbers. 32% increase, 140,000 people crossed the border just in the month of May, as we just heard from Ed. Okay? But Democrat candidate Joe Biden says, well, the following about the crisis at the border.
This is about just basic, simple humanity. And the idea that we're just trying to scare the living devil out of the American public, that, my God, the hordes are coming, the way you characterize it, is just simply wrong. This is a crisis created by Trump. This is a crisis created by the administration. And that's why, it keeps, this hordes coming.
The crisis is created by Trump. Mark.
Laura, that is absolutely, and look, I'm trying to choose my words carefully here, but that is absolutely absurd. The crisis is being created by our broken asylum laws that tells people you grab a kid and that's a U.S. passport into this country, and once you get here, you're going to stay. Laura, right now, we have people that are renting kids. They're renting kids, coming across, then facilitators on the American side are then sending the kids back to be recycled, to be rented again, to form fake families so they can come into the United States.
But Mark, we've been talking about this for months and months and months. No matter how bad the facts get, no matter how much video we show, it's like it doesn't matter.
That's right.
So all they care about is demonizing Trump. Look at these, these children are being kept in vans instead of reunited with their parents, when the actual truth is children have no beds because Congress will not allocate the money to even build temporary facilities to keep these kids. So what is ICE supposed to do? Just release them into society, or HHS? Release them into society to be trafficked? I mean, what is the humanitarian response here? I'm just getting a little bit sick of this. It's filled with lies and distortions only to demonize Trump, when we have runaway judges that caused a lot of this problem in a Congress who doesn't do its job. It's just beyond comprehension.
Laura, you're absolutely right. I agree with you 100%. Right now, we've asked Congress so that they won't pass the laws that they need to fix this, but we're asking for supplemental. The conditions of Border Patrol, 19,000, 4,000 capacity of 19,000. They have 2,500 kids in the facilities. It's unsafe. They shouldn't be there. We're asking for a supplemental to help HSS, to help CBP and ICE to get additional bed space to alleviate the humanitarian side of this. And Congress still sitting on their hands.
Mark, I think until this issue gets solved, the administration should talk about this every single day. It's not scaremongering. It's not fear-mongering. It is the truth. Thank you for joining us.